Have you ever seen your kid just totally melt like a puddle where they just seem so sluggish and just say they don't want to do something or they're not interested or they just start pulling away and they just look like a sluggish ball or something that just doesn't have any energy or engagement level with life or what they're doing. And it could so easily look like, wow, this kid's just lazy or they're just not motivated or something's wrong with them. But what I always try to do, whether it's a life keto we're teaching or with parental workshops or corporations, whatever we're doing, is to try to get behind the behavior and see really what's happening. So when I look at whether it's a kid, a teenager, an adult, when they're just sluggish, not engaged with life, there's usually a few main things that I see, and I'll talk about the main three and then how to address them. One of them is it's just very common, whether it's a kid, teen, or adult, whether we're conscious of it or not, just feeling like we're not enough. Something's they're just not good enough. We're not good enough at something, whatever that is, whatever may be important to them. And then so they feel either they've already been embarrassed by trying something, so they're afraid to try it again and get embarrassed again, or they just don't have the belief or the esteem to be like, yes, I can try this thing and it's okay if I mess up. So it's just this feeling deep down inside of fear, a fear of trying something and not being good enough or being judged or messing up. So when it comes down to this, to somebody believing in themselves, it's really looking at how can we help this person learn to develop confidence. In our system, we have like a layered confidence system. And I'll quickly just mention it, but I'm going to focus on the main one that's probably age appropriate for a lot of kids. But inside everybody, there's an inner spark. And that inner spark is the source of all confidence. So if somebody could just learn to connect to that deepest thing in them, even if they're not good at something, they can still believe in themselves and feel confident. So we try to create an environment, whether it's working with parents or at the dojo, wherever it may be, of where people can start learning to relax and really feel their natural strength, their natural wisdom. And the next layer of confidence, we talk about values. And again, this may be more for like teenagers and adults. If you have some values that you really believe in or something that's important to you, that gives you some energy to try to live, stand up with those values and virtues. And then the next layer is the one that we focus on the most with kids. And that's learning how to focus on the quality we call it river effort, to not try too hard like ice, not try too little like we're talking about now, like the puddle, but in the middle where you're paying attention and doing your best. And I always try to help kids see that when you pay attention and do your best, even take a little step, it doesn't have to be a big step. What happens is it makes you feel better inside. You start believing in yourself more. And then you also get better at that thing that you're trying to do. So these little steps, baby steps of doing your best, learning, growing, it starts triggering this feeling of confidence, this muscle inside your child. And that's starting to get them closer to that inner spark. So that inner spark is always there, but there's this whole thing about the confidence loop. When you start getting better at something, you start feeling better and you start taking more challenges. And I really think it's important to give this message to anybody that it doesn't matter if you're better or worse than somebody. What matters is you always try to pay attention and do your best. And that will make you feel your best and do your best. So that's the first thing that I see with a lot of people that tend to get sluggish or hold back and not engage is there's just a belief that something's wrong with them and they're really afraid to try, whether they know it or not. So we have to start helping them work through that to become more confident in themselves. And I know it's easier said than done. There's no question. I see it in my own life with people in my family in different places where everyone's on their own path. We can't force it, but we can nurture the soil, the ground for that to happen. We can practice it ourselves, being examples of that, and then give them tools as they're ready to practice this, doing their personal best. And so another thing we can do is not focus on the results with them, but focus on their body of effort and working hard, that growth mindset. And the other area that I see with people when they're just kind of sluggish and really not engaging is sometimes, and I can relate to this as far as the impetus, what happens is that when there's so much information, stimuli, if you have a hard time processing sensory input like I experience, it's just overwhelming. And all of a sudden your system just feels like it shuts down. And so maybe for some people, maybe that happens, they get hyper or scattered all over the place. But for a lot of people, they may just shut down and feel like, I can't move, I'm just stuck. So that's another way that people may show this sluggishness, not trying hard enough. And so I think in those situations, I'll speak for myself, sound is really challenging for me. So I have to be mindful of being connected to my breath and staying focused on what I'm doing. Otherwise, the sounds make me feel so overwhelmed and distracted. So we've got to help people learn how to take these little steps to help them so they're not so overwhelmed, because it may not be sound or visuals. It may be the amount of work somebody has or the amount of different things that they have to do. And even one project seems overwhelming. So this is where chunking is really helpful. If you just break it to little pieces, 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 and then you apply the river effort, like we talked about, the confidence. Hey, let's just do this one little piece and focus on doing our best there. Don't worry about anything else. And then we do another little piece. And little by little, you start seeing that this overwhelmed feeling can be broken down to smaller pieces, and it makes it doable. And again, that feeds the confidence loop. And as people relax into themselves more, the inner spark starts to shine more as well. So these are two of the three reasons. The other reason, sometimes people just seem like they're really lacking energy. And it may be lifestyle as far as spending too much time on screens, it may be diet, maybe lack of sleep, or maybe there's something in somebody's genetic makeup or nutritional makeup, or they need some support from a doctor, a nutritionist, or something that they just don't have the energy. And I've experienced that in my life. I remember one time many, many years ago, all of a sudden I just had like no energy. I remember looking at people and like, wow, how do they even lift their leg up and do those things? I'm just so tired. And so then I had like some nutritional imbalances that helped me get more balance. So I think when we look at our children, and if your child tends to pull back or be sluggish or not try hard enough, what's behind it? Is it them not believing in themselves? And how can we help them with little steps to start exercising that confidence muscle by having little successes and doing their best and working through challenges and developing that muscle more? Is it that they're just overwhelmed with the amount of information or sensory input? And how can we learn to work with that? Like if it's sensory input, to have tools like mindset tools to help with. If it's too much work, to break it to smaller pieces. And then if you see your child that's really just sluggish all the time, are they sleeping enough? Is there something with the nutrition? Is there anything you need to get checked out? Because everybody wants to feel their best. And when we show up to life and do our personal best, that helps us feel our best. So if somebody's retreating, pulling away from life, it's just something inside. It's like a calling out saying, hey, I don't know how to show up to life in a way that I feel safe, that I feel good about. So they need some help to develop these tools. There are many ways of doing it. At Life Keto, at our martial art dojo in Austin, Texas, we practice these tools. Like this is the big part of what we do is we train how to show up to the moment and do our best and build our confidence and build our resiliency and our social skills. So it gets very integrated. If you're not in Austin or if it doesn't work to come down to our dojo, we also have a kid series book, the River Ninja Kid series. And there's actually a book that talks about this called Ben's Puddle Brain. And it goes through the experience of somebody doing that, from making a mistake and being afraid to try again and working through that, learning some of these tools we're talking about. And then, of course, anywhere you go, there's people that can help, therapists or maybe life coaches or something that can help people develop these tools. But ultimately, it's learning how to take your body, breathing, and brain, focus in the moment, and do your personal best. And little by little, that will develop confidence and the ability to not be overwhelmed. And then if you move your body, that's a nice way to try to get energy to happen. But if someone's so sluggish, maybe they need some kind of nutritional support or something to help them get some energy. Okay, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will respond. And feel free to reach out at lifeketo.com as well. Thank you so much.